spin. Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Are you good? Are you magnificent? Great, let's share in that magnificence. Go ahead and hit that cue. I'm going to invite everyone to stand up. And we're going to start off by moving the body a little bit, singing our opening song, which is a song we've done before, right? Yes, yes, yes. Look, the lyrics are going to be on the screen if you need them. See, now I'm just punting and waiting for the lead in to play. Here we go. And and then I've got to cue Christy. Good morning, Christy.
Good morning, John.
Nice to see you. Okay, here we go. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the light in you. Feel the love you were born to be. Lift your voice, repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. All together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together. We come together in the name of love. All right, so this is the next verse. I have to listen really close because I missed it in rehearsal this morning. Remember that? Here we go. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, I love me and I love you too. Feel the love you were born to be. Lift your voice, repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together, in the name of love. We come together, we come together, we come together, in the name of love. In every walk of life, in every creed and color, in kinship we unite. To honor the light in each other. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, Namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love you were born to be. Lift your voice, repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. Again, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. All right. We do indeed come together in the name of love, and that is what we are here to do. That is who we are here to be, and that's why we gather on a Sunday morning. So welcome to Tucson New Thought. I'm reveling in the energy that's in this room right here and right now. I'm so grateful that you've all decided to join us for this thing called celebration this morning. We come together at Tucson New Thought every single week in spiritual celebration to understand and know one thing and one thing only. What is that, my friends? We are magnificent. So here's the thing. To all of that, yes. Because whatever you are here to know is actually what you are here to know, and you can celebrate that right here at Tucson New Thought. For those of you who are here for the first time, I am Reverend Jonathan Zenz, and it is my pleasure to have you join us this morning. We are here to create a world that works for everyone. That is the vision of Tucson New Thought, and we do this by means of our mission, which is to provide practical tools for personal transformation and awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Doesn't that sound like a lovely thing that we can all partake in? Yeah. We are here for connection, to connect, not just here at Tucson New Thought, but here in this thing called life in the world. We are here to connect. So I'm going to invite each and every one of us to stand up for just a couple of minutes, greet your friends and neighbors, let them know. Oh, wait, I forgot! I forgot! You're like, well, what is, like, I'm going to tell you, give you a direction, and I haven't even done it for you. Here's what I would like us to do. For those of you who are here for the first time, I'm not going to make you stand up and say your name and give your life history. But those of us who have been here before, I would love for us to recognize and acknowledge someone who's here for the first time by turning to them and letting them know the truth, which is, you are magnificent. Yes, 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 you are magnificent. So I'm going to point out, now I am going to point out that we have somebody here who has joined us for the first time, who comes from CSL Kauai on the island of Hawaii, where my friends, my colleagues, Reverends Rita Andriello and Patrick Farron are in service as ministers, and I actually stole that from them. You Are Magnificent is from their center, and I took it because I think it's important that we all know that. So what I would love for us to do now is to stand up for a couple moments, greet our friends and neighbors, let them know their magnificence in our own unique, individualized way. And I do want to let everyone online know that I see you, and I'm so grateful that you've decided to join us here today for this thing called celebration. It is a thing, and it is wonderful, and I feel your presence, I feel your energy, and I'm so grateful that you are here. Thanks for being here. You are magnificent. And you are magnificent, my friend. Go ahead and launch the cue. We might need a bigger gong.
Need a gong.
That's what I was just saying. As we settle back into our spaces, our various seats, we engage in this particular practice every single week, which is really important to me, and it's a beautiful ceremony that I have adopted. Everything I've done, I've adopted from other people. So let's just put that out there, because that's what we do.
Do you really own anything?
No, it's all God. There's no such thing as ownership because it's all God, right? But we do this ceremony called Lighting the Flames of Faith, whereby we ceremonially honor all religious paths and faith traditions. For each candle that we light, we are recognizing that all people, all faiths, everything comes from this one source that we call spirit, that we call God, that we call love, that we call the creative energy, whatever we choose to call it, everything is rooted in this source. And so we honor all of them with each candle lighting. So we light a candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the divine will of love as the highest calling. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light a candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them and for all faith traditions unnamed in this ceremony. And the final candle we light is a candle to represent the healing of any circumstance that requires divinity to be revealed. This is your candle to illuminate whatever is in your mind and in your heart that requires the light. You did it. Yes. The candle that sits over here is our peace candle, and we honor the notion that we are the place where peace starts. So we keep that candle lit throughout the service. And we honor that also through a modified prayer for protection, which was written originally by James Dillett Freeman. But I invite you to take this into your heart as I read this. Truly, the light of peace surrounds us. The love of peace enfolds us. The power of peace protects us. And the presence of peace watches over us. Wherever we are, peace is.
Spirit, dwell in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's
Today, for our reading and reflection and affirmation, we have our beautiful, joyful, radiant person that is Reverend Marvis Rodriguez. So please welcome her.
I wanted to mention before I start, being up here and listening to you sing that chant was absolutely gorgeous. There was such a blending of voices. I thought, this is a choir going on. It's lovely. The reading, well, Reverend Jonathan allowed me to pick my own quotes. And he may be sorry, but I don't think so.
I'm never sorry.
But I start with a quote from Lao Tzu, who has, he had written the book Tao Te Ching, which means the way, and I take this sentence: there is no greater illusion than fear. Whoever can see through all fear will always be safe. The reason I'm picking fear as my topic this morning is we are in that season of Halloween and trick-or-treats, and maybe you have in your memory banks some memories of being frightened when you were a child, of Halloweening and going out there trick-or-treating, maybe the first time, and seeing people in costumes or whatever is true for you, the story or even the cartoons on TV. My imagination was in full swing when was my first trick-or-treat, and it was my last trick-or-treat. Because, as I told you once before, I grew up in a real rural area, and only once did I have the opportunity to go trick-or-treating with some children I went to grade school with. And this, I'm really not that old, but I went to a one-room schoolhouse, and there was a small village nearby, and this is where I went trick-or-treating, and it was all strange to me with big, scary houses. And of course, there were a couple older boys in this group, and they did everything they could to scare us by saying, I think there might be a werewolf behind that building, or just everything just scared the dickens out of me. And I remember thinking, I don't like this. I'm asking for candy from strangers, and I don't even know who's going to open the door. So I really avoided it until I was an adult and had my own children. And then I took them trick-or-treating, and it wasn't so bad. But everything that I was experiencing as that child was something I had imagined in my mind by a suggestion or a book or a memory or something of being told. And it's not just children, it's us adults as well. We continue to conjure up fears as we grow into adulthood. In my 20s, I remember I had my first child, and I lived in an apartment. Well, my husband was drafted and sent to Vietnam. And this apartment was on the second floor, and it faced a flat roof. And I was petrified that someone could crawl up on top of that roof and come and break into a window and I don't know what, get us for I don't know what that phrase is all about, but somebody's gonna get you. And so I remember though at that time I had read enough Edgar Cayce material and metaphysical books to know that I could change my thinking on that, and the perspective that, once again, this was an illusion that I was making up in my mind and imagining something that was not really going to happen. And so that brings me to Dr. Ernest Holmes' quote from the book, This Thing Called You. Life not only responds to your belief, it responds as you believe. It is like a mirror reflecting the image of your belief. I believe we can all remember being afraid whether it is of public speaking or surgery or meeting someone for the first time, all of us have our fears. But when we think of it as a reflection of what's going on in our own thought pattern, it might be a little easier to erase the fear or to re-engineer it to something less frightening. We don't need to, or actually I wanted to say this. I was looking online this morning to see what the acronym for fear is, and do you know there's 40? Wow. 40. So I chose future events appearing real. Future events appearing real, which they're not real. We're imagining a future and putting in all the players and the emotions and the outcome. And so it kind of comes down to this. Fear is nothing more than looking into a mirror and saying, boo. Who's saying it? Who's scaring you? You. So that's my little story, and I say namaste, and I'm going to read the affirmation now, which is in your program. Oh, it's on the screen. Does it? I'll read it first. I know who I am, and who I am is a blessing to the entire world. Okay? I know who I am, and who I am is a blessing to the entire world. Thank you.
Yeah. I know who I am, and who I am is a blessing to the entire world. There's something you said that has escaped my mind, and so clearly what I wanted to say about it was not necessary in the moment. You were great. Thank you. Thank you. The song, what we call in the rundown of the celebration, the special song of the day. All the songs are special, but the chosen song today is one that I've done before. It's one of my favorites, and it actually, funny that we have someone here who was at CSL Kauai, because the first time I really understood this song was when I was singing it in Kauai. Shall we? Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, and everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to this present moment, here to a new beginning, here clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the sweetest kind of love, to the deepest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. 'Cause here I go. Sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul. Thank you. Thank you. It's funny, I do this every single week. I should just put it over here to begin with. There's a story about one time when I sang this song, and actually there's at least one person who was in the room when this happened. Well, there are two people, if you include me. I was in the room when this happened because I was singing the song. So in 2015, when I was still at the Center for Spiritual Living Toronto, serving as the spiritual director there, we hosted the Canadian New Thought Conference that year. And it was a 4-day conference, so great to bring people from all over Canada and a bunch of people from the United States to Toronto to show them that magnificent city and to engage in 4 days of just deep spiritual practice. And it culminates, these Canadian New Thought conferences always culminate with the host center always presenting their celebration on the Sunday, and that's usually the closing event. And what I had done in creating this is I was the second minister to be in the position of service at that center. That's what I'm trying to say. And when I did the lineup of speakers for that day, of course, that's the day that I got to, do a talk as part of the conference. And we invited Dr. Ken Gordon, who is the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living. He gave a talk that day, and then another minister gave a talk that day. And I'm not going to say who that minister was, and I'm not going to give any information around how you might be able to identify that particular individual. But they gave their talk, and then we did this song basically in a similar spot in the service, but it was post this person's talk. And I got to that point where I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. And you know, all the music drops out and we go quiet. And in that moment, I hear some rustling. And this person stands up and says, well, I'm so sorry, I have to go do a memorial service. I have to leave, but thank you so much for being here. And walked out. And in that moment, I'm standing there with the microphone going, do I acknowledge this? No, I just finished the song. The show must go on. And you know what? It's being open and receptive to whatever's happening in the moment. What a great lesson for me in that moment to say, you know what? I am free to allow the flow to happen in exactly the way that it needs to happen. And let's face it, it was a great, hilarious moment, you know, because we're so serious in our spiritual practice sometimes, right? We get so serious. And then something like that happens, and it says to each and every one of us, you know what? Lighten up. Yeah, there you go. Lighten up. Spiritual practice is meant to be fun. And yes, we do serious things. We do meditation and we do prayer, and we, right? But let's have a good time. Let's have a good time in doing this. So, of course, I say that and I think I could not have chosen a more deep quote to launch my talk today than I did. And those of you who may have studied in this realm will understand that when I say I'm quoting Thomas Troward today, you may hear some groans from people who will say, oh, Thomas Troward. I love Thomas. Me too. Thomas Troward is my guy. Thomas Troward, who was born in 1847 and made his transition in 1916, he was a predominant person in the development of New Thought, and in fact was the first president of the International Alliance of New Thought. He was a judge in India, and when he retired from the bench, he went back to England, which is where he was from, and that's where he really engaged in his time to really become a major New Thought leader. And much of what we study, much of what Ernest Holmes studied was Thomas Troward. In fact, we say the two greatest influences on Ernest Holmes in the development of this thing called religious science were Thomas Troward and Ralph Waldo Emerson. And what I always say is that Ralph Waldo Emerson was really the love part of the equation, that when you read Emerson's essays, it's all about the impulse of love and how it creates as oneness in our lives. And Thomas Troward was the law part of the equation, because he was a judge, he was a lawyer and a judge, right? So he came at it from a perspective that was very much rooted in logic, the logical progression of understanding. And so I found this quote today that goes right in alignment with my talk, which is, and you know, it's funny, my talk today is "You Are Magnificent." Because I say it every single week, but I've never done a talk called "You Are Magnificent." And there's a reason that you are magnificent, and for me, it is rooted in what Troward coined as the divine ideal. If you read his book, The Creative Process in the Individual, there's a whole part of it that is devoted to the divine ideal. And he wrote this, where he explains what the divine ideal is. He says, "This is the divine ideal. An individuality which recognizes its source and recognizes also the method by which it springs from that source, and which is therefore able to open itself up in itself a channel by which that source can flow interruptedly." I'm going to go back through all of this just so you know. With the result that from the moment of this recognition, the individual lives directly from the originating life as being themselves a special direct creation and not merely as being a member of a generic race. The individual who has reached this stage of recognition thus finds a principle enduring life within themselves. So my next question is, in what way this principle is likely to manifest itself? It's a lot of words. It's a lot of words. I'm going to break it all down for you. Because when I read this, I was like, oh, yes, I get this. I understand this. And this is so motivating for me because it is the answer to why we can claim our magnificence. Why is it you are magnificent? And it starts with this idea. An individuality which recognizes its source. That's what he starts with. This is the divine ideal. An individuality which recognizes its source. Each and every one of us are individualized expressions of an infinite power, an infinite creative power that we call source. Many of us, we call it God, we call it love. I say this all the time, right? Are you getting tired of me saying it? We call it God, we call it love, we call it this, we call it that, we call it whatever we choose to call it. All of those are limiting ideas for that which is ineffable, but constantly unfolding in terms of creation, and it is who and what each and every one of us is. When he says an individuality which recognizes its source, those of you who have studied the process of affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment, as we call it in this philosophy, that's step one, recognition. Source is all that exists. That's it. There is nothing else. So this divine ideal, an individuality which recognizes its source, that's step one, and recognizes also the method by which it springs from that source. It recognizes the method by which individuality springs forth from that source. That's step two. If source is all there is, if God is all there is, if love is all there is, well, then we cannot be anything separate from that. That's logic. Right? We cannot be separate from it. There is only this infinite creative energy and power that is constantly unfolding itself in terms of creation. So I, you, we, every single one of us, everything that exists is part of this infinite wholeness. We are sprung from that source as the source. Which leads me to that great thing that I love to say and shock people who've never heard it said before, and that is to say, I am God, and so are you. Because there can be nothing separate from that good orderly direction. There can be nothing separate from that source. There can be nothing separate. And to suppose that we were somehow separate from the divine, I think is arrogant in a way that, it basically says, well, I'm something else. I actually think that's arrogant. To know who I am and to know that I share this with every single living being, everything that has livingness, and that is everything, even things we consider inanimate. They all have a degree of livingness at their core, because if you break it all down, it's all energy experiencing the time and space as matter. Deep. That's why we're very much in alignment with quantum mechanics, quantum physics. That's a whole class in and of itself. So we are sprung from that source energy, and we are that source energy. And, he continues, which is therefore able to open up in itself a channel by which that source can flow in uninterruptedly. That's where we get into trouble, and it's exactly what you were talking about today. Because if we can be an uninterrupted flow of source, then we have no reason to actually sit in this room, because we don't need to be reminded. The interruptions come in the way that we utilize this source in our own minds, by developing conscious ideas and beliefs that are rooted in fear, that are rooted in feelings of less than, rooted in feelings of separation. And uninterruptedly truly is the key. To what degree can we actually move forth through life with the understanding, the logical understanding, the intellectual understanding that we are God, that we are source, that we are love, we are this creative energy? How do we move through life allowing that to be an uninterrupted flow? So it pours forth into everything we experience, everything we think, everything we say, everything we do. I find myself getting caught up in the stuff of life. Does that happen to anybody else here? You ever get caught up in the stuff of life? Never, right? No. We do such a good job of interrupting that source flow, and that's all that's happening. When we get caught up in the stuff, thinking that the circumstances out there somehow have bearing or effect on the truth of who we are, we block that flow. So what do? We know a deeper truth. That moment of recognition, he writes, with the result that from the moment of this recognition, the individual lives directly from the originating life. So he's saying, as soon as we truly understand that we are the expression of this originating life, presence, spirit, source, whatever, and that it is who and what we are as being themselves, a special, direct creation, not something else. We are that which is. And we are not, now this is also important, we are not merely a member of a generic race. Because those things that get in the way, those ideas, those beliefs that block us from the flow are actually our individualized expression of this infinite power, letting itself be known in our present moment experience. It's actually, those are the things that make us unique. The things that make us unique are the things we layer upon this infinite source to limit our experience of life. Think about that. The things that make us unique are the things that we limit ourselves with in the expression of an infinite power, which is of itself unlimited. So don't worry so much about that stuff anymore. Trust and know that whether you have that stuff in your life or you have that stuff in your life, get it? Because we all got it. We all have this stuff in our lives. And it is the thing that makes us unique. I can look to the things in my past and say, these are the things that shaped my experience of this time and the experience of my life on this plane of action. And I am in a place of choice now whether or not I'm going to continue to let those things be at the forefront of my now, present moment experience moving into the future. We are not merely a member of a generic, unfolding, infinite, we are part of the infinite unfolding source, but revel in the fact that we have choice within the infinite to be whomever we would like to be. But how many of us are truly living that way? How many of us? Our unique expression is divinely ordained. It is divinely ordained. Not one of us is generic. Not one of us is unnecessary to life. And I say this sometimes too. If you are here on this plane of action, you are necessary to life. Don't ever forget that. We all matter. We are all magnificent because we are unique. Because I am not. My expression is not the same as Christy's expression. And her expression is not the same as my expression, although I would love to be able to play the piano like you play the piano. My expression is different from Marvis's, and her expression is different from mine. And how magnificent that this divine source expresses itself in these ways, in myriad ways that says anything is possible because everything is probable. What makes us magnificent, first and foremost, is our uniqueness. The individual, Troward writes, who has reached this stage of recognition thus finds a principle of enduring life within themselves. So here's part of the message today. When we truly know who we are, when we remember who we are, remember who you are, when we truly know who we are, we can let go of the comparisons we make of ourselves to other people. Are any of you there yet? I'm not. I will stand up here and say, I'm not there. I still compare myself. In a previous experience of my life, I used to compare myself to other actors. Now, what do? I compare myself to other ministers. And then I say, all right, I see that I am not like that particular minister, and I have to remind myself, what a blessing that I am my own unique expression of ministry. And what a blessing that they are their own unique expression of ministry. You get to decide what the flow of your life is to be. We all get to decide what the flow of our life is to be. So then the next question he writes is, in what way is this principle likely to manifest itself? And that's the infinite question. What are you going to do as this life principle today? Who are you going to be? How are you going to choose to be your magnificence in this world? What are you going to do? On Friday night, we had a movie screening here. Wow, I'm really emotional around that. And there were not as many people here as I would have liked, and that's okay, because the people that were here were the perfect group to be here. But we screened the movie The Way with Martin Sheen. So, have you seen the movie before? Yeah. It's a magnificent, magnificent film about the journey of life as reflected in this one individual man. Well, actually, it's the story of 4 people, but it's primarily the story of Martin Sheen's character making his way from France to Santiago de Compostela on the way, the Camino del Santiago, in Spain. And there are a number of reasons why he chooses to do this 800-kilometer walk. That's 500 miles. Did I do that right? Yeah. Yeah, it's 500 miles. I'm trying to do the math in my brain. 500 miles he walks from France to this cathedral on the coast, on the North Atlantic coast of Spain. But what I love is that he keeps having these visions of his son, and his son, who very early in the film says to him, "You don't choose a life, you live one." And that actually becomes the tagline for the entire movie. Now it's interesting because somebody said, but we do make choices in life. We do choose our life. Somebody said that to me at the screening that night. And I actually stepped back and thought about that a lot because I didn't really have a response to it in the moment. But I stepped back and I thought about it a lot. And I thought, I think the greater picture is this. Yes, we make choices in our life. Those are the things that make us unique. Absolutely. But when we get mired in the choice, we stop living life. And so if we think that the choice is going to lead us down the road to that thing which is far away, or even like if I were to walk out the door right now, I have no idea what lies outside that door. I have an idea of what I think lies outside that door, but am I going to live life or live in fear around the choice of whether or not to walk through the door? That's, I think, what is really being expressed here. The 4 characters in this film all move through their own journey, their way, in their own unique, magnificent way. I was like, I want to find another word other than way, but it is the way, right? It's the way. That's what it was. The Tao, the way. It's so funny that, everything is about the way today. And many of them made choices that they started the journey with, and they said, when I get to the end of this journey, then that choice is going to come into full fruition in my experience of life. And pretty much across the board, all of them got to the end of the journey, and whatever it is they decided was going to be their choice, they did not live up to. The most easy one to understand and recognize is there was one character, this woman, who smokes. And she said, I'm putting these down for good when I get to the end of this walk. Now, first of all, I don't know how you could walk 500 miles and be a smoker. That's just me. And she was a smoker, and she's like, but I'm going to put them down. And so she gets to the end of the journey, and she goes into the cathedral, and she goes up, and she touches the effigy there, and she takes her pack of cigarettes, and she lays them down, and she seems like she's going to be done with it. Well, then there's the continuation of the story where they walk to the shoreline, and they're all standing there at the shoreline contemplating this spiritual experience that they've had over the course of more than a month. Because it takes more than a month to walk this entire journey. And while she's standing there, she pulls out a cigarette and lights up. Life is not about the choices we make, it's about living. And I'm not advocating that we should all go out and start smoking. We choose our actions and reactions in every moment. Those are the choices we make. That's a life of choice. But if we are choosing something that feels out of integrity or out of alignment with our greatest expression of life, then we're actually blocking the flow. So you are magnificent, and you express your magnificence more and more and more the more you unblock the flow. It's up to you to determine what you will take and learn, I think, from the perception of failure in your life. I talked last week, I said, one of the things Yoda said is failure, the greatest teacher, is. I think every single one of us has failed at something. If you haven't failed, I invite you to stand up here and try. I think the greatest part of my ministry is that I'm not afraid to stand up here and say that I've failed a lot in my life. Now I can look at things and understand them as failure, which then I can depress myself with, or I can say, that's just a part of my journey. That's just a part of my journey. It's part of my unique magnificence. In what ways do I still have in my own consciousness, this is the constant work, in what ways do I still have in my consciousness an understanding of myself as a failure? And I wrote here, my acting career. I pride myself on my previous career having been an actor. That is a major part of my expression of life. I was doing shows for 25 years before and sort of into my ministry. But if I base my sense of success or failure on someone else's opinions of what is success or failure, I do myself a disservice. Because you know what? I never did Broadway. I never did television except as doing background work. I never did a film. Well, I did one film. So bad. It is such a bad film. But I did a lot of theater. I mean, my career was primarily based in doing small, intimate theater in Los Angeles. And what a magnificent feeling of success I had in that. And that's what success is. It's knowing who you are and feeling the success, not because of what anybody else says. I was fulfilled in what I was doing. And did I get paid for it? Sometimes, but mostly not. But I was fulfilled. And so what better life is there than to feel fulfilled, even if you're not making money? Like we tie our success and failure so much in our financial experience. Let's let that go and know who we are. It's what brought me, theater is what brought me to this. It's what brought me to this. So where's the failure in that? Failure doesn't exist. I want you to really hear that. Failure doesn't exist, except to the degree that you decide that anything in your life has been a failure. And that's the lesson. That's the lesson. I cannot be a failure when I know who I am, ever. All I am is an individualized expression of spirit who is having experiences on this plane of action right here and right now. And in that, I am unique. I am magnificent. Not because of anything I do, not because of anything I say, but simply because I exist here and now, because I am. And each and every one of us is. That's what Troward is saying. So let's see what Ernest Holmes has to say. There aren't that many options today. Would you do the and let me know what number it is, please?
126.
126. 126. Oh, there we go. I turned almost right to it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. What paragraph number shall I read? 1, 2, or 3? 1 is the first number I heard. So I was having a conversation with somebody just the other day about the gendered language that is utilized in this book, and I think the next incarnation of this book needs to remove all the gendered language. But I'm going to read this with the gendered language because that's the way it's written, and I just want everyone to understand that I would like to re-edit this book and take out all the gendered language. So in the book, he writes this: "Man thinks and supposes that he lets go of those thoughts, that he is finished with them, but such is not the case, for thought becomes subjectified in mind like a seed planted in the soil. And unless neutralized, it stays there and determines the attraction and repulsion in the experience of the one thinking." It's exactly what I've been talking about. Our decision of success or failure, our decision of being magnificent or not, our decision of limitation are simply seeds that we are planting in the subjective soil of the mind. They're seeds, and we can either nurture and water and feed those seeds, or we can say, no, I'm going to let that seed simply dissipate, go back to the nothingness from which it came. What are you choosing to do? What are the thoughts and beliefs? What are the ideas that you are nurturing in your life? Because every single thought is a seed planted in that soil. Every single one. So what are you nurturing today? That's the great question. Are you nurturing your own understanding that you are magnificent? As we step away today from this time and this place and this experience, here's what I would like to offer as your homework. Homework. I would like you to go about your day, go about your week, and I want you to find one limiting, just one, go easy on yourself, find one limiting idea that you are ready to let go. Just find one limiting idea that you are ready to let go in your life. And then allow yourself to bid it farewell, truthfully, once and for all, in your own unique way, in whatever way suits you. Because that ultimately is spiritual practice. We teach particular methods for spiritual practice here, but spiritual practice, the technique of spiritual practice is whatever works. So what works for you? Find that one limiting idea and bid it adieu. That's your homework this week. I'm so grateful for your attention. I'm so grateful for your love. I'm so grateful for your time. I am so grateful for this community. Thank you. Namaste. I'm going to invite Carrie Mon to join me up here for a moment, and I will set that there. Thank you. Oh, not yet. I sing a song here. Shh. Sorry. You'll get to hear from Carrie Mon in a short moment. It is in my notes. I just didn't see it. Okay, if you would. So as we settle into this moment, with great joy, we can be in joy, right? Because it does sometimes seem so heavy. Allow yourself to feel light in this moment. Allow yourself to feel that laughter and know that that is part of your unique expression. That right here and right now, each and every one of us is so magnificent. Not because of anything we do, not because of anything we say, but just because of who we are at the core. that we are that which is. We are the infinite I am. And I allow myself to go to this place right here in the silence. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release. As my heart opens up to the voice, I awake to these precious moments when I hear all that could ever be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself, I find God, I find myself, I find myself when I find God. For there is only one power, there is only one presence, there is only one infinite creative resource, there is only one source, there is only one thing going on. And everything that exists, seen and unseen, is part of this infinite wholeness. This is true for each and every one of us. We are that which is. We are this thing itself. We are Source expressed magnificently as us. We are living its life and calling it our own. We are loving as it and calling that love our own. We experience the expression of life so magnificently at all times, calling it our own and unfolding and unfolding and unfolding as this thing called love, as this thing called life. I trust in this, I know this, and I am grateful for this. And so I simply allow, as I release, let go, and trust, and know. I trust, I know. And together we say, and so it is. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release. As my heart opens up to the voice, I awake to these precious moments when I hear all that could ever be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God. Oh, I find God. I find myself. Namaste. Now I will invite Karimon to join us up here.
Well, there are certainly no accidents in life. This week has been really challenging for me in a whole bunch of ways, and as I'm arriving at the end of this week, I know that life is for me, and the no accidents is that everything that was spoken about today was exactly right for me. So thank you for curating this amazing quote and talk just for me today.
You're welcome. I had you in
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful. Yeah, it was just for me. And I know it was all just for each and every one of you, because every time there's something perfect that comes out of these times that we have together. And, you know, I dove deep into a space of unworthiness, and I got to have the blessing of realizing, coming back to myself and realizing I am the source and substance of my supply. That I am God, that I am, that's it, I am. And so returning here this weekend, which was unusual, I was gonna be out of town, and it was a gift that I was here instead of being out of town. And so I'm saying all of this because there's something really special about coming together here in this community of Tucson New Thought. And what I know, that I am the source, you are the source too, and we are the source creating this space every week and seeing those ripple effects going out into the world. And we get to let go of fear because we know, we remember who we are, and we're forgiving everything. I am forgiving everything, and I know that it's only love. And so Tucson New Thought is a community that's entirely supported by this source that's in each of us. And so I invite you now, the way that I found source in me, to find source in you and take out whatever you want to call it, your investment, your tithe, your contribution. Know that it doesn't matter what you call it, but that it is all love, it is all energy, and it continues to create the ripple effect, because I felt it. I feel it today, and I felt it by returning here and remembering who I am. On the technical side, we do have many options for giving: cash, check, credit card. If you're online, there's either a link, or you can go to TucsonNewThought.org. There's a link. Okay, great. And I just want you to know that I honor your commitment to our vision and our mission here, and grateful for the support that you give each week to Tucson New Thought and the blessings that you share. So we're going to move on to our divine givingness statement. Let's read it together. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless. It is the evidence of my conviction that spirit is the source and substance of my supply. I joyously contribute to the vision of my spiritual center, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for letting us know, or letting everybody know that I wrote all of this just for you today. It's interesting that you say that, because inevitably the trick of ministry, if there is a trick to ministry, is to only talk about whatever you need to hear that week. And that's all we're ever doing, is reminding ourselves of the lesson and doing it publicly. So as William goes about and passes the basket around, I do want to let you know about a few things that are happening here at the center. In your handout today was a flyer for the Conscious Coffee Connection, which is our monthly online discussion forum that is with me and Reverend Steph St. Amand, who is in British Columbia, but will soon be from California. That's super exciting. Yes, she has accepted a letter of call at the Center for Spiritual Living, Redlands, California. So she's going to be moving there soon, as soon as they get all the immigration stuff worked out. But she and I do this monthly event, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern, on the third Tuesday of every month, called the Conscious Coffee Connection, where you get to come and just have a conversation with us, and we do it through web conferencing software that is easy to use, and you can put it right on your computer. There's a link that you can type into your web browser that is on the flyer that is in your handout today, and it will automatically set everything up for you. If you have a camera and a microphone on your computer, it'll all work brilliantly. So there's that. We do have the full moon release party this coming Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Yes, she was supposed to be out of town, which is why we didn't do it last night, which was the full moon. But when we change the date, we'll just leave the date as it is. But that's 6:30 Tuesday's perfect. Full moon release party, information on that is in the flyer on the table. Raise Your Voice. The singing event is happening again this coming Friday, 6:30 p.m. We're singing the song, What a Wonderful World, this time. Weekly meditation offered every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Again, I would also like to say we do recycle and reuse these programs every month, so if you are not wanting to take your program today, go ahead and leave it back on the table and we will utilize it again next week. If you have a request for prayer support, you can fill out a prayer request form, put it in the yes box, which is also on the table. Volunteers. I always tell Marvis, I say, I never like to make general announcements for volunteers from up here. I always like to engage with people directly and say, you've been here and I would love for you to step up, and if you'd be willing to be of service, just once a month, that would really help us out. But I'm going to make a general announcement up here and to say, we would love to have your support. And if you have an impulse in your own beingness that says, I want to support Tucson New Thought, by being a volunteer, we could use greeters, we can use people to provide our hospitality and snacks on a Sunday. We can use you, and we would love to have you join that part of the fold in the way that we express this thing called spiritual community. If you would like to do that, please speak with Marvis, and she will get you all set up with that. So, if you would please, let's just take this moment of reflection and knowing that what has been collected right here in this basket is the source at its core, expressing perfectly as financial flow for this institution, this thing, this construct that we call Tucson New Thought. I know that what has been collected here is blessed, for it is blessing each and every one of us and is a blessing from each and every one of us, for we are in that complete circulatory flow at all times. And so I know that in this current of currency, we express and experience the magnificence of life. And so I live in gratitude, deep, deep gratitude for this abundance, and I simply trust in its flow through this time in this place, doing the great work that it is meant to do for each and every one of us in this community. I live in gratitude, and I simply allow it to be as I release this word and know it to be so. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. I want to say thank you to Aiden for providing our technical support today. Yes, the man behind the curtain. Yeah. Also, I would like to say thank you to Deborah for providing our hospitality, our snacks today. Please feel free to stick around and enjoy some social time with us and enjoy the snacks that Deborah has brought. Also, our greeters today, William and Anita, thank you for your service. Thank you so much to Marvis for your reading and your reflection. It's so beautiful as always. Grateful for you. I want to say thank you to Christy. Yeah! For providing our musical magnificence, and thank you to Anita for singing today as well. And I really want to thank each and every one of you, everyone who is online experiencing this today. Thank you for making your presence known, not just in this place, but in this experience and expression of life. I'm grateful for you. So let's end the day by singing our final song, which is Let Your Love Flow. Feel free, yes, to stand. There's a reason for the sunshine sky, and there's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when that love light shines all around us. So let that feeling grab you deep inside and send you reeling where your love can't hide, and then go stealing through the moonlit nights with your lover. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Oh, let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. There's a reason for the warm, sweet nights, and there's a reason for the candle lights. Must be the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that wonder take you into space and lay you under its loving embrace. You feel the thunder as it warms your Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. Oh, let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Yes, let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. Just let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. Just let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. Make it a great week, everyone. Namaste. Thank you for being here.